States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
DeYoung. Bachhoven. Branderhorst. Here. Van Strylen.
Here.
Skiba.
Here.
Peterson.
Here. I would like to announce that there will be a policy and planning meeting following the regular council meeting to discuss the event venue draft ordinance and the elected official compensation draft ordinance. We'll move on to the approval of the tentative agenda. Do I hear a motion for approval?
Support.
Skiba and support Van Strylen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Clerk, call the roll.
Skiba.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Motion carried. On to item number 3, I would like to appoint Matt Hutchison to the Airport Committee. Matt is a product manager at Vermeer Corporation. In addition, Matt has a passion for aviation and is an active general aviation pilot and home builder of his own experimental aircraft, which is based at the Pella Municipal Airport. He has shown a commitment to continue training and development, proven out by his 30 years of interaction with the Pella Municipal Airport. He's been a pilot for 19 years and currently holds the commercial pilot's license with multi-engine and instrument ratings. Matt resides at 410 Highway T14, and if approved, Matt's new 6-year term would expire on January 1, 2025. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Branderhorst?
Support.
Support Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Clerk, call the roll.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Skiba.
Motion carried. We'll move on to the public forum. If there's anyone in attendance that would like to address the council regarding any agenda items, please step forward, talk into the microphone, give us your name and your address. And if you choose to participate, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Someday we'll get somebody to take us up on that. We will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Van Strylen?
Support.
Support Peterson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Clerk, call the roll.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Skiba.
Yes.
Motion carried. On to petitions and communications. Item 1A, a special event permit request for the Clompton Classic 5K. Mike, if you'd explain that, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to refer everyone's attention to the big board for a brief presentation on this item. And as the mayor said this evening, the special event permit request we are considering is the Clompton Classic 5K annual event in our community. This year's race, our event, is proposed to be held on May 1st from 4 to 9 p.m. It's very important to note, as far as the race route, we do have it listed up on the big board. It's the color highlighted areas up here you can see surround Central Park, but in essence, it's the same as it has been in prior years. And as far as the temporary street closures that are associated with the event, they are included within the packet as well. Very important to note, Mr. Mayor, that all pertinent city departments have reviewed this application and comments have been included in the packet. In addition, the city staff has received a fee and insurance certificate for the event, and we are recommending approval this evening. So with that, that concludes our presentation. We're more than happy to answer any questions the mayor and council may have for this item.
Thank you, Mike. Do I hear a motion for approval?
Support.
Support Van Strylen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Clerk, call the roll.
Skiba.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Motion carried. On to 1B, resolution number 5949, entitled Resolution Temporarily Closing Public Ways and Grounds in Connection with the Special Event Known as the Clompton Classic 5K. Mike, is there anything to add?
No, sir.
Do I hear a motion for approval?
So
Skiba. Support Peterson. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Clerk, call the roll.
Skiba. Peterson.
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion carried. On to number 2, Municipal Telecommunications Business Plan. Mike, if you'd explain, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to, just to get council up to speed on this item, and while it's actually council is well aware, but for members that may be in the audience and those watching at home, as the council is aware, last May we did hold a referendum in our community, and the question was simple: should the city of Pella form a municipal telecommunications utility? That referendum passed overwhelmingly in our community with a 92% support level on it. And since that day, or since that week, we've been working very hard on developing a business plan for the new proposed utility. Shortly after the referendum, we contracted with FAR Technologies to develop a business plan for the municipal telecommunications utility. This evening, we have Mr. Peter Rasmussen, who's a partner of FAR Technologies, to provide an overview of the municipal telecommunications business plan to the City Council. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and turn the floor over to Peter.
Thank you, Peter, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mike, Council. Pleasure to come down here on nice dry roads. I'm out of Sioux Falls, so we'll see how the drive home goes. But I assume you'd like me to use the mic for.
That would be good, that way it's recorded for the.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Mike and his staff, along with the members of the technical committee. I know Bruce was on that, so I had a chance to meet him on a few occasions, but appreciate all the hard work that they put in, working alongside of us, giving us some very sage advice and tips and insights. So without their support, the plan wouldn't have come together as relatively smoothly as it did. So thank you very much, Mike. As he said, I would just want to give you a quick overview of the business plan that we delivered right around the 1st of February or so. It's broken down kind of by sections, so we'll go through those one at a time. The first thing we did was what we call a situational assessment. We had a partner, Todd Peelclough, and his partner, Curtis Dean, that actually conducted the assessment as part of the contract. They surveyed businesses with one survey and residents with a second, slightly different survey during the June-July timeframe. Especially the residential survey was very strong returns there. The other thing that they completed were a canvas of the current providers. What services do they offer? What prices do they charge? What packages are they offering? So we kind of knew where we stood as we looked at the competitive landscape. Their conclusions out of the work that they did were that Pella citizens and the businesses strongly support the project. The things that really they're looking for to get out of the formation of this utility are excellent customer service, state-of-the-art technology, local ownership, and community involvement are the things that were highlighted during the situational assessment. Pella citizens are also likely to switch, which is a real key metric that says, yeah, it's nice to talk about it, but it's more important to understand that if we offer a superior service at a competitive price, people indicated that they were willing to switch. That then leads into a conclusion that with the kinds of feedback that we were getting, that it looks like there's a sustainable model that can be developed out of the situation, out of the telecommunications utility. A little bit about the design. Not going to try and buffalo you with a lot of technical talk. I personally am not the technician, so it's a good thing that I'm here instead of one of my technical guys. But it's important to know that what we're proposing is a 100% buried fiber network. The fiber, I can truly say, is probably a 40-year investment. We've had fiber in the ground for more than 40 years. So the nice thing about the fiber is once you go to the effort of putting it in the ground, it's there and it can be used easily, fairly seamlessly by changing the electronics as the need for different services, higher speeds, or whatever comes your way. It's there, it's in the ground, and it's almost half the project cost. That fiber network will reach all businesses and residential locations in the city. It is capable of providing, at least at the outset, voice, video, and high-speed data services, as well as it's able to handle smart grid applications. There are redundant routes out of the city of Pella that will connect you to the internet backbone, as well as the proposed head-end location, since we're not proposing that you buy and build a head-end here in the redundant route to the internet and to the video will give you the protection that prevents a single point of failure within the network. We're recommending that you contract for voice switching services as well as for the head-end service. Primary reason here is that the head-end is a very expensive undertaking. It's a undertaking that right now is an important component for the city to offer, but it is also a component that is declining because of the, what we call the over-the-top video. So think Hulu, Netflix, CBS All Access, in my case, MLB.com for baseball. But, so for that reason, we're not thinking that it's a good idea to spend a lot of money on that, especially when you have somebody up the road that can bring those services to you and do it on a cost-effective basis. Similar sort of thing for this video switch, or for the voice switching. You got a lot of people that will sell you the capability of providing that service cheaper than you can go out and do it yourself. We do recommend that you buy and own your own equipment for the data. So we've got a big router in there and that kind of equipment, so that that's really the key service that will be offered on this network. And so, again, back to the quality control and services control, that's an important thing. The other thing about this design is that we did a custom layout. So it's not just something where we said, well, we think we got X number of square miles, so we'll figure we got Y number of route miles, and we'll just sort of throw a number of X number of dollars per mile at it. We actually laid it out. Once we lay it out, we can go along and count the number of handholds you need, count the number of feet of this kind of cable, feet of that kind of cable, and then we take what we've seen in the bid environment, in this case with what we were seeing in early 2018, and apply those prices to the units that we get off. So it's not a final design, but it's a very detailed design that has pricing that is very relevant. So we're quite confident in that. The other nice benefit of this network design is it does enable Pella to be a gig community. What is a gig community? It's a community that has the provider or providers in town that, for those customers who want a gigabit internet service, you're willing to provision that gigabit all the way to their house. So if you got somebody that just likes to have the biggest and the best, and I'll guarantee you there'll be somebody in this community that does, you have the ability to do that. It also is a convenient thing from a marketing standpoint if you're out talking with other businesses, or even if, you know, there are some companies that will put that on their website saying we're a gig community. So if people are looking to move here, they know, oh, gig community, I wonder what that is, or I know what that is and I like that. So it gives you kind of a nice marketing play there, and it's a good thing to have. Next kind of segment we'll talk about is the business model and the financials that go along with that. We recommend that Pella go with an owned and operated business model. There were, you know, you could do it a number of ways. You could farm out all the different pieces. You could farm out one piece or the other piece. But because of what we found through the situational assessment, we felt that this model is the best way to deliver the quality that the citizens want, the flexibility for pricing and services that are necessary to be competitive. So we think that lines up the best with what we found during the situational assessment steps. The model itself is a 10-year pro forma. It includes all the capital expenditures for the cable and the electronics. One of the important things is that, especially with electronics, every so often you have to plan for refreshing those electronics. Your broadband router, for example, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years down the road, you're going to need to do something different. Either because you outgrew what you bought initially, The manufacturer might have discontinued that, so now you don't have the ability to get parts and service and that sort of thing. So we do have those expenditures starting in year 7. So we'll replace the broadband routers, we've got money in there to replace the box that goes on the side of the house, and things like that. So you don't come up with oops, we forgot about this, and now how do we get that money to go ahead and do that? Operating expenses cover the full gamut: legal, marketing, regulatory, customer service, network operations. Some of those, the legal, the marketing, the regulatory, probably are outsourced initially, but certainly the customer service, network operations, those are all done with staff that we would propose that the utility hire. We use competitive rates and competitive penetrations, again, based on what we are seeing in the situational analysis. So we're not just plucking numbers out of thin air, we're using what we saw in the situational analysis. Finally, the outcomes are the financial ratios. Those who are financially in the know, it's like a tier ratio times interest earned, or a debt service coverage ratio. Those are in the right ranges to allow you to attract financing. Without money, nothing gets done. And I think the other thing, kind of if you will, the acid test is that by the end of the 10-year period, you've got a substantial growth in the equity in the utility. Kind of a summary, but our recommendations in the plan are to contract with a municipal, a firm that has municipal experience with both the legal and the financing, to get the new telecom utility set up, similar to the electric utility. You used a financing and a legal person to get those set up, so we recommend using people who have that experience to get those set up, and then arrange for the long-term financing. Recommend that you contract with a telecommunications engineer as well as construction company to actually get the network up and built. Again, contract for your voice switching and your video head-end services. Hire a telecommunications director and his staff to manage the customer service as well as the network operations. And then, especially in a long-term view, a lot of talk in the press about the 5G networks, right? 5G is the next evolution of the cellular network. It is a very wide bandwidth, so you can pump a lot of data through it. One of the challenges is that it also doesn't go very far. In today's world with the 4G network, you have cells that can go probably 10, 15 miles, kind of depends on the terrain. 5G, the high bandwidth capabilities fall off at the 100 meter, 150 meter range. So you have to have a lot more cells in order to offer that service, especially if you're looking to have it delivered in a home. In a home, the walls will knock down the signal. During summertime around here, the trees will knock down the signal. All that means is that it's going to fall off. But it also presents some opportunities for the City of Pella and their fiber network. All those cells need to have some way of connecting back to the internet. So one option would be a wireless backhaul. That has some of the same challenges as the 5G signal itself. So fiber backhaul could be a very good customer for you. The other opportunity is, as you're watching the progress of the 5G networks, I would encourage you to identify who the license holders are and begin talking with them. Because there may be an opportunity for you to partition, which is, they may not want to serve Pella, they may want to serve Des Moines. So they may say, well, if you want to pay me this kind of money, I'll let you have Marion County, which would enable you to get into the wireless business if you chose and if it made sense at that time. So, a couple of things there, but keeping in communication with those that have those licenses is a very important thing, both as an opportunity and as a way of keeping things at bay, if you will. Those licenses are currently in an auction process. The first auction is complete. That was for some of the smaller areas. The large metropolitan areas, I believe the Des Moines area is part of this next auction. They'll be starting in March and early April. Not sure how many rounds it'll go. That auction in particular will likely be dominated by AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, a lot of the big players, because you're talking about a very large number of populations, and the way the auction works is you pay per hop. And so you gotta bring a lot of money to those kind of auctions. So other than that, I'll open the floor for any questions that I may be able to field for you. That's the end of my official presentation.
Question?
I have one on the rates. What was it, partition or, Corey, could you go back to that, the one, keep going? Okay, no, I'm sorry, penetration rates.
Penetration.
What is a penetration?
So penetration would be if you had 1,000 homes and businesses that you passed, how many of those do we assume will take service? So that's what I mean by the penetration. Good question.
Thank you.
To help everybody that hasn't been a part of this whole process, you've done these kind of analysis in the state. Can you kind of give us a little bit of a rundown of FAR Technologies and how much experience you have in doing these?
Sure. FAR Technologies was formed by myself and 3 of my other partners. Probably the guy who's been at it longest has been at it about 40 years. I've been in the business myself about 25 years. My background was, I was in the actual operations side. My family was in the telephone business in South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa. So I've been at it, well, I mean, I guess I could stretch it a little and say more like 50 years, because my dad had me scraping the wax off the central office switching floor. So I've been at it for a while. And then my other 2 partners have been in it for about 20 years also. Those 2 guys come at it from more of the data side, whereas the guy who's been at it 40 years and myself, we come at it more from the telephone public switch network side. So we got a nice blend there. Our vice president of outside plant, Brian Nordved, has been in the business 25 years also. So we got lots of experience, have done a lot of work with independent telephone companies across the United States. Built a lot of regional networks, think statewide networks, kind of like Arion here in Iowa, or SDN in South Dakota, or Envoy up in Minnesota, and we are also a key part of the ION network in the state of New York. So done a lot of that kind of work in the past. And municipal-wise, we've done the City of Benton, this project that's just getting ready to kick off, this one. And we've also worked with a couple of municipalities in South Dakota.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just maybe a little for information, this was discussed, but Peter, of the ones that you have done, tell us what, how we rate as far as the ability to succeed in your humble opinion.
I think Mike and I were talking a little bit about this, but as we look at it, I think Pella is in a sweet spot for a couple of reasons. One is you're big enough. You got enough potential customers that it makes the numbers side work well. Number 2, you already are in the electrical business, so you have a positive brand with your citizens. They know who the Pella Electric is, so that positive brand has a positive effect as you basically start out in a new area. It's not like you're brand new and do you know what you're doing kind of thing. Third thing is, I see a very good alignment of city council, city administrators, and the citizens as demonstrated through the situational analysis as well as the referendum. So I think we got people all lined up and rowing in the same direction, which is a very important thing.
I think there was a lot of positive feedback also from the constituents, from the, that was significant, the number of people that had a positive, positive feedback and wanting to see this pursued.
Yeah, I think that was 92%, is that correct, Mike?
Well, yeah, but beyond that, it's the particular things that they said and the willingness that they would sign up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of people can want it, but will they sign up? Well, I think there was a significant amount said that yes, they would.
Yeah, I
Thanks
think
for
to your
good
point,
presentation.
Bruce, the verbatim comments that came through that situational assessment, there were a number of very strong positive comments there. And kind of to the point, the residential surveys, even though they were an online survey, they had ways of controlling it, so one guy couldn't sit there and put in 30,000 responses because they didn't have anything better to do that day. So they were very high in number to the point where on the residential side, they blew out the 95% confidence level because, people were chomping at the bit to let you know that this is what they wanted.
And I would tell you that city staff gets phone calls periodically asking people when they can sign up. I mean, just to help put it in perspective, everyone is anxious, quite frankly, so, very good. Sure.
Yeah, okay, Corey, could we go to the recommendation slide, please? I'd just like to point out, Mayor, according to Park Technology's recommendations, their recommendation is to proceed with the municipal telecommunications utility. From a practical standpoint, the next phase of the project is what I would characterize as a due diligence period of time. It's going to focus heavily on legal and financing options for the city to consider to make a decision on the municipal telecommunications utility. With that, I'd like to introduce a gentleman that's in the audience. It's Mr. Mike Maloney from D.A. Davidson. Mike's going to be assisting us through the due diligence phase of the project for the utility. Mike has worked on other, actually numerous utilities throughout the state of Iowa. There's approximately about 20 utilities in the state of Iowa, municipal telecommunications utility, and Mike's worked very closely to the latest utilities, that's Indianola and Waverly, on it as well. So he's well versed in financing and municipal telecommunications utilities, and we just wanted to take an opportunity to introduce you to Mike, who's going to be working closely with us over the due diligence period of time for the utility.
Thank you, Mike.
Welcome.
All right, very good. Any other questions? Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very
Mike.
much.
We will move on to claims, abstracted bills number 2025. Do I hear a motion for approval?
Move to approve and issue warrants.
Motion to approve and issue warrants by Skibout,
Support?
support by Stryland. Any discussion?
Just one, Burns Electric.
That was a contractor we hired to put the last chunk of 1,000 MCM cable on the rear mile. We had to fit 3 of them into one pipe. And,
Okay.
we didn't have the equipment sufficient to let it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Fuel costs went way up. Was that all snow removal? Was something like $19,000 more than last month?
Wouldn't surprise me.
I was just shocked at the difference. I don't know which catch it.
Yeah, we keep filling the tank, so.
Yeah, I imagine that's kind of important.
So did you get your salt, Denny?
We did. We had, I don't know, a couple loads delivered yesterday, and we got another 50-ton coming. But there's some other people who are totally out, and said, go take care of them, we're good for a couple more storms. So it's kind of a give and take.
So they got the train moving again?
We're set for a couple more good ones, unfortunately.
So it'll be done by the end of the week then?
Yeah. We'll be hurt by Monday, that's right.
The groundhog said early spring, so I thought we were done.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Any other questions on the checks? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Clerk, call the roll.
Skibout.
Yes.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Motion carried. We'll move on to other business. Public forum. Do any council members have any business that they need to bring forward at this time? Do any members of the public have anything that they would like to have addressed? And if you do, please step forward, speak into the microphone, give us your name, address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes possibly, if possible. Seeing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Support.
Peterson and support Skibout. All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Clerk, call the roll.
Peterson.
Yes.
Skibout. Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
We are adjourned.